Captain Rayan opened his eyes slowly. Everything around him was quiet, too quiet. The only sound was his own breathing inside the cracked helmet of his spacesuit. His hands trembled as he looked at the small, flickering lights on the control panel in front of him. He was floating alone in a broken escape pod, deep in space. Outside the window, there were no stars, no ships, just endless black. He knew right away. His crew had left him behind. Only a few hours ago, Rayan was leading a mission on the edge of human space. The humans had formed an alliance with a powerful alien race called the Varnak. Together, they were supposed to stop a greater enemy. But during the last battle, something went wrong. The Varnak betrayed them. They attacked Rayan's ship without warning. The human crew panicked. Alarms screamed. Fires broke out. Everyone rushed to the escape pods. Rayan had stayed behind to make sure everyone got out. But when he ran to his own pod, it was already too late. The last human ship had jumped away through the space gate. He was alone. Now his escape pod was drifting with almost no power. His oxygen was running low. He looked at the screen. It blinked in red. Oxygen, 5%. His stomach twisted with fear, but he forced himself to stay calm. He tapped a few buttons, trying to send out a distress signal. The antenna was broken, but he had one chance left. There was a backup transmitter, old tech, slow, but maybe strong enough to send a signal across deep space. He pressed the button. A tiny green light blinked. The signal was sent. Rayan leaned back and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Earth, about his mother, about the small dog that used to sleep on his feet when he was a boy. He wondered if anyone would hear him. He didn't know how long he had. Hours, maybe. Then the cold would take him. Or worse, his mind would give up before his body did. But Captain Rayan wasn't a man who gave up easily. He had once survived a crash on Titan's ice plains. He had walked 3 days across a burning desert on Mars when his suit failed. He had fought pirates near Jupiter's rings. He had seen war, death, and betrayal. But this, being left behind by his own people, hurt more than any wound. He closed his eyes again and remembered the moment the Varnak ship opened fire. He had shouted over the comms, told the crew to run, told them to live. But deep inside, he had hoped someone, anyone, would come back for him. No one did. Now, floating in this coffin, he knew the truth. The galaxy moved on fast. Humans were strong, but they were few. Losing one captain wouldn't stop the war. Still, he had sent the signal. Somewhere, far across the stars, maybe someone was listening. Unseen by Rayan, far beyond the pod's range, a small alien station picked up a signal. Inside, a shadowy figure stood in silence. The screen in front of him showed the signal's code. Human, Captain, alive. The alien smiled coldly. He didn't press the button to respond. Instead, he turned to another screen and began typing a message in his language. The human has survived. Eliminate the signal. Do not let Earth know. Back in the pod, Rayan felt a chill. His oxygen dropped to 3%. His eyelids grew heavy. He knew sleep would come soon, and after that, nothing. But before losing consciousness, he whispered softly, "Don't forget me." He didn't know that far away. Something ancient had been awakened. Earth's Deep Space Command had just received the same signal. Weak, broken, but clear enough. A forgotten protocol activated. The words appeared in red on a dusty old screen back on Earth. Rescue Code X. No human left behind. Rayan didn't see the message. He didn't hear the alarm that sounded in Earth's skies. But maybe, just maybe, he would live to see another sunrise. If someone got there in time. Far away from Earth, deep inside an asteroid field, a strange alien outpost floated in silence. The station was small, cold, and hidden. Inside, blue lights glowed dimly along the walls. A tall creature stood in front of a screen, his 4 long fingers tapping quickly. He was a Varnak, one of the same aliens who had betrayed Captain Rayan. His eyes locked on a blinking signal. The message was weak, broken by distance, but the meaning was clear. A human was still alive. Rayan's signal had reached them. The Varna commander narrowed his eyes. He survived. He muttered. His voice was sharp and full of hate. He remembered Rayan. The human captain had been strong, clever, and dangerous. The Varnak feared men like him. If Earth finds out, they will come, he whispered to himself. They always come for their own. He turned to his second-in-command and gave the order. Erase the signal. Jam the frequency. Make sure no one else hears it. Yes, Commander, the other alien said, and began working. But something unexpected happened. As they tried to block the signal, it bounced, once, twice, and then disappeared from their tracking system. The commander froze. Where did it go? He shouted. I don't know, sir, the officer replied. It changed direction and entered the human net. Far away, on Earth's moon, a dusty old satellite dish turned slightly. The signal had found a path. Deep inside the human military base, a red light began to flash. An old system powered on, one that had not been used in many years. Inside a quiet room filled with old machines, a young girl named Mira sat reading a book. She was a cadet at Sunspire Academy, still learning the basics of space command. The sudden alarm made her jump. She looked at the screen and saw a message she had only studied in old history files. Rescue Code X. No human left behind. Mira stared at it. Her heart began to race. She knew what this meant. Somewhere out there, a human was still alive. Someone who needed help. She stood up and ran to her supervisor. Sir, we got a live signal. It's Rescue Code X. The officer looked at her, confused. That can't be. That code hasn't been used in over 20 years. It just came in, sir. Look, she said, pointing to the screen. He walked over and read the signal. His eyes widened. Rayan, he whispered. Back in deep space, inside the dying escape pod, Rayan was losing consciousness. His breath was slow. His vision was blurry. He thought of home. He thought of Earth's sky, of the wind on his face, of warm sunlight. Then everything went dark. But Earth was no longer silent. Old officers were being called back to command. A room that hadn't seen life in years was suddenly full of energy. They dusted off maps, powered up battle plans, and called in experts. Captain Rayan was a hero. Years ago, he had saved an entire colony from destruction. Earth would not forget him. They would not leave him behind. In the main war room, General Athion stood with a serious face. We have a location, he said, but it's deep in Varnak space. The room went quiet. Mira, still standing near the back, raised her hand. Then we go get him. Some of the officers laughed softly. She was just a cadet. But General Athion looked at her and smiled. That's the spirit humanity needs, he said. We go. A fleet was prepared in secret. Only a few ships, only the best pilots. It was a dangerous mission. They would need to travel through old, unsafe space lanes, stay hidden from enemy eyes, and find a man lost in the void. But Earth had made a promise long ago. No human would ever be left behind. And this time, they meant it. Somewhere, floating between stars, Rayan's pod drifted like a leaf in the wind. He didn't know help was coming. He didn't know that Earth had heard him. He didn't know that a young girl with big dreams had pressed the button that might save his life. But fate was moving, and humanity had just remembered one of its own. At Sunspire Academy, the sun rose over silver towers and training fields filled with young cadets. Students moved in neat lines, wearing dark uniforms, carrying data pads and gear. But today felt different. Whispers spread through the halls. A special mission had been launched. Not just a test or patrol, but a real rescue. And it wasn't just anyone. They were going after Captain Rayan, a name every student knew from history lessons. Mira sat quietly in the back of the strategy room. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from excitement. She couldn't believe what was happening. Just days ago, she was studying charts. Now she was part of something real, something that mattered. General Athian stepped into the room. His voice was calm and strong. "This is a covert mission. No one outside this room knows the full plan. We are going into Varnock space to bring back a man we do not leave behind." He turned to Mira. "Cadet Mira, you discovered the signal. You're coming with us." She blinked in shock. "Me? But I'm just a student." "You're also the only one who tracked the bounce path. You saw something we didn't. That makes you valuable. Pack your bag. You leave in 2 hours." Mira nodded, her heart pounding. Meanwhile, far away in space, a small fleet of 3 human ships left the hidden docks near Jupiter. Their goal: reach Rayan before the Varnock found him, or finish what they started. The lead ship, Valkyrie, was fast, armed, and built for rescue missions. Commander Isla, an old war hero, led the team. She had flown with Rayan years ago. She owed him her life. Inside her ship, Isla stared at the screen. The signal had grown weaker. "He doesn't have much time," she said. "We move fast, or we find a body." The crew of the Valkyrie worked silently. Everyone knew the risk. The route they were taking passed through dead zones, places where even light seemed to vanish. The area near Varnock space was dangerous, full of hidden mines, old war debris, and unknown creatures. But they didn't care. Rayan had been left behind, and humans didn't forget their own. On board, Mira walked through the ship slowly, taking it all in. She had never been outside Earth's orbit before. Now she was flying into enemy space, but something deep inside her felt calm, like this was where she was meant to be. As they neared the last known signal point, the crew grew quiet. The stars outside looked strange, dim, flickering. Then suddenly, the radar picked up a shape. "Contact," one of the pilots shouted. The ship slowed. Ahead of them was a floating wreck. Burned metal, broken wings, once a proud alien cruiser, now a ghost ship. Isla narrowed her eyes. "Scan it. Check for signs of life." The computer beeped. No life detected, but traces of human DNA found. The room went still. Mira whispered, "Rayan was here." They docked carefully. A small team entered the ship, weapons ready. Inside, everything was dark. Walls were burned. Floors were stained. And yet, signs of a fight were clear. Alien bodies lay frozen, some with broken armor, others with burn marks that came from human weapons. They reached the control room. On one of the walls, written in blood or oil, were 2 words: "Still fighting." Commander Isla touched the words with her glove. "He's alive," she said softly. "He escaped." Back on the Valkyrie, Mira was analyzing the logs they found. She found something strange, a recorded alien message. When they translated it, her eyes widened. The human escaped into the Black Belt. Everyone in the room froze. The Black Belt, a dead zone of twisted gravity, broken moons, and dangerous storms. No one entered and came back. Commander Isla stood tall. "Set course for the Black Belt." The crew hesitated. "Ma'am, that's suicide." "We came to bring Rayan home," Isla said. "And that's what we're going to do." As the ship turned and vanished into the blackness, Mira looked out the window. Somewhere in the dark, a hero was waiting, and Earth was coming for him, no matter the cost. The Black Belt was nothing like Mira had imagined. Outside the ship's window, space didn't look calm anymore. It looked broken. Giant rocks floated like angry monsters. Flashes of lightning tore through the darkness. Gravity waves twisted metal into strange shapes. No signal could pass through clearly. No ship dared stay here long. Even the bravest pilots called it the graveyard. But the Valkyrie didn't turn back. Inside, the crew was tense. Every screen showed warning lights. The engines strained. The ship groaned like it was in pain. Commander Idla stood in the control room, eyes locked on the scanner. Rayan's pod entered this zone 5 days ago, she said. No record of it leaving. A pilot spoke up. Ma'am, this place will tear us apart. We need to leave in 4 hours or less, or we're trapped. Isla nodded. Then we find him in 3. Mira worked fast at the science station, using her special scanner to look through the storm. Every few seconds, static filled her screen. But then, something flickered. A soft, blinking dot. Wait, she shouted. I found something. The dot disappeared, then came back, then vanished again. Could be debris, one officer said. No, Mira said. It's moving. Commander Isla leaned over. Can you get us a direction? Mira typed quickly. Yes, but we'll have to go through a storm tunnel. The tunnel was dangerous. Rocks spinning, electric charges flashing across space. But it was the only way. Let's go, Isla said. The Valkyrie flew into the chaos. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from one of the control panels. Lights flickered. An engine alarm began to scream. Hold it together, Isla shouted. Mira stared at her screen, guiding the ship with her signal map. Just a little more. Almost there. Then suddenly, they saw it. A small, half-broken escape pod, spinning slowly through the dark. There, Mira cried. The crew launched the grappling hook. It caught the pod. They pulled it toward the docking bay. As soon as the pod entered, emergency crews ran in. They forced open the hatch. Inside was silence. Rayan lay slumped in his seat. His face was pale, his body cold. Oxygen was gone. His suit was torn. For a moment, no one moved. Mira stepped forward. He's not breathing. Move, shouted the medic. They pulled Rayan out and rushed him to the medical room. The door closed behind them. Outside, Mira stood frozen, tears in her eyes. We were too late. Commander Isla placed a hand on her shoulder. We brought him home. That's what matters. Minutes passed like hours. Then the medroom light blinked green. The door opened. The medic walked out slowly. He's alive, he said. Weak heartbeat. But he's alive. Mira gasped. Commander Isla smiled, her voice shaking. That man refuses to die. Inside the medical room, Rayan opened his eyes, just a little. Everything was blurry. Shapes moved around him. A soft voice spoke. You're safe now, Captain. You're home. Rayan tried to speak, but no words came. Just a single tear ran down his face. But far away, the Varnak had also seen the human rescue ship enter the Black Belt. Inside their war chamber, the Varnak leader slammed his fist on the table. The humans found him. Yes, sir, a soldier replied. They pulled him out alive. The leader growled. Then they'll pay. Prepare the fleet. War was coming, and Rayan had just become the spark. The galaxy was watching, and Earth was waking up. You said. Stars blinked softly outside the Valkyrie as it left the Black Belt, damaged but alive. Inside the ship, silence filled the halls, not out of fear, but respect. Captain Rayan was resting in the medical bay, still weak, but breathing. Machines beeped beside him. Tubes carried life-saving fluids into his body. His skin was pale, and his muscles were thin from weeks without proper food. But he was alive, and that changed everything. Mira stood at the glass window of the med bay, watching him. She had never met Rayan before, but she felt like she knew him. Every student at Sunspire Academy had learned about his bravery. His last mission was in every textbook. He had once saved over 1,000 colonists by sacrificing his own ship. Everyone thought he had died in that explosion. But now he was back, and he had survived something no human ever had, being lost in Varnak space. Commander Isla walked up beside Mira. He'll need time to recover, she said quietly. But when he wakes up, He'll have answers, and we need them. Mira turned. Do you think the Varnak will come after us? Isla nodded slowly. Oh, they will. We broke into their zone. We found something they wanted to stay hidden. They won't forgive that. But it was more than that. Back at Earth Command, news of Rayan's rescue had reached the top brass. The message was simple. He's alive, and he has something to say. General Athion stood in the war room, reading the report. His face was calm, but his hands were tight. If Rayan survived, it means they lie to us. The peace talks were fake. The Varnak betrayed us. A younger officer looked nervous. Sir, if we act now, it could start another war. Athian stared at the screen. It already started. We just didn't know it. Meanwhile, on the Valkyrie, Rayan finally opened his eyes. The lights above him hurt. His body ached, but he was awake. Mira stepped in slowly. Captain Rayan, she whispered. He turned his head weakly and nodded. Where am I? You're safe. We brought you home. He smiled faintly. You're a cadet. Mira laughed softly. I guess I am. But not just any cadet. I'm the one who found your signal. Rayan looked at her for a moment. Thank you. Earth doesn't forget. I wasn't sure anyone would come. Mira sat down beside him. What happened to you, sir? Why did the Varnak leave you out there? Rayan's smile faded. His voice dropped. They didn't leave me. They planned it. Mira leaned in. What do you mean? Rayan closed his eyes for a second, remembering. They wanted a reason to start something. They wanted Earth to look weak. So they made it look like I died in a failed mission. But I found something before they attacked me. He looked Mira in the eyes. There's a weapon. Not just any weapon. Something ancient. Buried in their home system. And they're going to use it. Mira's face went cold. Against Earth. Yes, Rayan whispered. Unless we stop them. But even as they spoke, far away in Varnak space, hundreds of ships powered up. The alien leader stood before his war fleet. Earth broke into our zone. They stole the one thing we wanted forgotten, he growled. Now we make them pay. The stars were no longer quiet. The sky was preparing for fire. And humanity was getting ready to fight back. They had rescued their captain. Now they had to save their world. The stars above Earth shone peacefully, but inside Earth Command, peace was already over. General Athion stood before a giant screen, watching the incoming Varnak fleet moving across the galaxy. Hundreds of warships, heavy carriers, planet killers, all heading straight toward human territory. The war humans tried to avoid for years had finally begun. And it started with Rayan. He sat weakly in the command chamber, wrapped in a thermal blanket, still recovering, but his eyes were sharp. His voice, though soft, carried power. They want to test us, he said. They think we'll run. But this time, we stand. General Athion turned to him. You said they found a weapon. Something ancient. Do we know what it is? Rayan nodded. I saw only a piece of it. It wasn't Varnak made. It was older. Stronger. They found it on one of their dead moons. It feeds on energy. And fear. Mira listened from the side, her heart racing. If they activate it. Rayan finished the thought. They can wipe out planets. The room fell silent. General Athion straightened. Then we hit first. But we don't just fight. We show them who we are. Across Earth's colonies, alarms began to sound. Ships rose from hangars. Orbital cannons powered up. Fighters, bombers, stealth cruisers, all called back to the fleet. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth. They were preparing for a strike. Back on the Valkyrie, Mira joined her old crew one last time. She was no longer just a cadet. She had been promoted to Specialist Mira Cade, officially part of Earth's first response team. Commander Isla met her at the launch bay. You ready, Cade? Mira nodded. Born ready, Mom. Good, Isla said with a smile. Because we're heading straight for the storm. Their mission: lead a small squad through Varnock lines and find the ancient weapon before it could be powered. It was a suicide run, unless they succeeded. The Valkyrie launched with 5 other ships, fast, quiet, and armed with stealth tech. They vanished into space like ghosts. Behind them, Earth's main fleet moved like a wave. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Varnock were already preparing their weapon. Inside a dark chamber on the old moon, alien engineers worked day and night. The device was massive, its core glowing blue, pulsing like a heart. The Varnock High Commander watched with pride. Let them come. When the stars turn red, their hope will burn. But deep in that same moon, someone else moved. A human drone, small, fast, and silent, recorded everything. Rayan had sent it before the rescue. It was still alive, and it was watching. Back aboard the Valkyrie, Mira received the drone's signal. "Ma'am," she told Isla, "I have coordinates. I know where the weapon is." Isla smiled. "Then we hit them where it hurts." As they neared the enemy moon, stealth shields engage. One mistake, and they'd be spotted. One wrong move, and they'd never return. Inside the ship, Mira looked out at the stars. For the first time, she wasn't scared. Rayan had survived the worst. Now it was her turn to do the impossible. Because humanity didn't run. Not anymore. They were coming. And the Varnock had no idea what was about to hit them. The moon looked dead from space, gray, cracked, and lifeless. But Mira knew better. Beneath the surface, the Varnock's ancient weapon was nearly ready. The core was glowing brighter. Energy fields rose around it like a heartbeat. If they turned it on, Earth's defenses wouldn't matter. One shot could burn a planet to ash. The Valkyrie hovered in the moon's shadow, silent and unseen. Commander Isla looked at Mira. "This is it. We plant charges, blow the power source, and run. Fast." Mira nodded. Understood. A small strike team of 6, including Mira, dropped onto the moon's surface. The air was thin. The silence was heavy. Their boots crunched across dust that hadn't been touched in centuries. They found the entry tunnel, guarded by 2 alien soldiers. Mira whispered, "I'll take the left." Blasters hummed. 2 silent shots. 2 bodies down. The team slipped inside. The tunnels were dark and tight. Strange lights pulsed in the walls. The deeper they went, the warmer it got. The air smelled of metal and power. Then they reached the core chamber. It was massive. A swirling sphere of energy floated in the center. Dozens of Varnock engineers worked around it. Black armored guards stood watch. One wrong step, and the whole team would be dead. Mira studied the chamber. "We set the charges at the base of the power lines. Once we blow them, the core collapses. Make it fast," Isla whispered. "We've got maybe 5 minutes." But just as Mira moved forward, an alarm screamed. A guard had seen them. Blaster fire filled the air. "Go loud," Isla shouted. The team returned fire, dodging between pillars and wires. Mira ducked low and planted the first charge. Sparks flew past her helmet. A Varnock soldier lunged at her, but she kicked him into a power beam. He vanished in a flash of light. 2 charges set. Someone yelled. Mira rushed to the 3rd point. Her hands shook, but she forced herself to focus. Click. Locked. "All charges ready," she yelled. "Fall back," Isla ordered. But more Varnock troops swarmed in. There was no way out. Mira's heart raced. "They'll trap us here." Suddenly, boom! The wall exploded. A human dropship burst through, firing from its side guns. Earth soldiers poured in. At the front was Rayan. He wore a full combat suit, eyes sharp, body still weak, but filled with fire. "Thought you could start without me," he said with a grin. Mira laughed, even as blasts shook the ground. "You're insane." "I'm alive," Rayan said. Let's finish this. Together, they pushed back the Varnock troops. Mira hit the detonator. The core chamber cracked. Blue fire spilled from the walls. Everyone out, now. The team ran, dodging falling metal and burning wires. The tunnel shook. The ceiling crumbled. They jumped into the dropship just as the entire chamber exploded behind them. From orbit, the moon cracked in half. A blue shockwave burst out, spreading across the stars. The weapon was gone. Humanity had stopped it. Back on Earth, people watched the live feed in silence. Then the cheers began. The war wasn't over, but the worst was. Rayan stood beside Mira on the command deck, watching the stars. "You saved Earth," she said. He shook his head. "We did. Together." Mira looked out into space. "Do you think the Varnock will try again?" Rayan smiled. "Let them." Because now the galaxy knew. Humanity doesn't forget, and it never leaves its own behind. Not ever.